Good, bad.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. On behalf of the school board, city government, and Mayor Blackwell, I'm Charlie Keenan. I just want to welcome you for being here this evening. Thank you for being here. A lot of stuff's been going on the past 2 years with people, coming to events. It's been very difficult to get people to get together. And so I'm very appreciative that you will take your time out of your evenings to come here and hear about what's going on in the city and what's going on in the schools. I want to first thank Mayor Blackwell for allowing us to do this jointly. In many places, you'll get a state of the schools address, you'll get a state of the city address. I'm very, very thankful that as a city and a school board and a school district, we collaborate and work together and put on events like this. And this is just one indication of the good things that happen together when cities and schools work together. So thank you, Mayor Blackwell, and thank you, city officials, for allowing us to do this together. This evening, we're going to be giving you the good news that are happening in the schools in the city. And I'm going to start with talking about the school part of this first. And when I get finished, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Blackwell. So I'm going to begin without further ado and talk to you a little bit about the state of the schools. Before I get into my report, I do want to recognize that we have a few people here from the school system. I'm going to recognize our board members by name, and I'm going to ask our staff and administration that are part of the school to stand, please. So we have with us our board president, Ms. Rosalind Moore. Our board vice president, Ms. Connie Rosen. We have quite a few people from our staff here, so I'm going to ask you please to stand and be recognized this time. Administrators, staff, that work for the Maple Heights City Schools, please stand. It means a lot to me and everybody that you come out here tonight and support what we're trying to get accomplished, what we're trying to explain to the community about what's going on in the schools. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about three things tonight. The first thing I'm going to start with is a little bit about how we got to where we are today through the pandemic. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened in the past, what's transpired this year, and then a little bit about moving into the future. And then secondly, I'm going to talk to you about some of the accountability that the state puts on us through what's called the state report card. We typically talk about that every year, but it's changed a little bit the past 2 years, the way that things are being accounted for and things are being reported. So I want to make sure that you're well informed about that and you understand the data that's going on. I think you'll be very proud of some of the things that are being reported about in Maple Heights City Schools and our students with that data. And lastly, I'm going to talk to you about, probably more important than the state report card, the direction and the vision and mission of the district and what we call continuous improvement plan that kind of drives the things that we do in this district. We just completed one cycle of a continuous improvement plan. So I'll share a little bit of that information with you. And then more importantly, I'm going to talk to you about the direction we're going moving forward from this summer for the next 5 years. So that's going to be what I'm going to talk about this evening. So let's start with the initial implications of the pandemic on student learning. So when kids walked into school this year, it's not just like they walked in the door and business as usual. And so we have to kind of reflect back on what's happened over time. And I'm going to start back in March of 2019, because that's where it really starts to take a look at these kids and what's going on with their learning right now. At that time, these kids were just going to school like normal. And then all of a sudden, this pandemic changed the world for everybody. It's the most dramatic thing that's happened in public education in over 100 years, maybe ever. And so the impact of this is pretty deep on kids, but our kids are resilient. And you hear a lot of things about learning loss and what kids lost over this time. And I don't look at it that way. That's a deficit way of looking at what happened. I think that there are opportunities that we took advantage of. I think our kids can grow, and I think that we have to put things in place to make sure that our kids are successful. So we've really taken the opportunity to take a look at what our kids have experienced, what do they need, and how can we support them. So that was the first thing that happened is that we had that abrupt shutdown of school. The other thing that was kind of a problem for us is that we didn't have the technology or the connectivity in our community, in our schools, in our families to support the online learning that some other places had. And that was a challenge for us. We dealt with that and we made sure that we did the best we could to provide learning for our students from March to the end of that school year. We did better all of last school year, but if you look at what a kid had to experience from March until now, they went from going to school every single day to school was shut down by the governor and they had to stay at home. They were learning by filling out packets, or if they could do things online, do it online. There was limited to no summer school in person. And then we came back to the upcoming, this past year. At that time, we had no clue what school was gonna look like then. We talked about doing a in-person learning. And then by the time we got to July, it was gonna be a hybrid learning. And then it came back to, with the high number of cases, virtual learning. So the kids were just trying to, and families were trying to navigate what does school look like to start the school year. We ended up landing on a virtual learning. So we spent the majority of all last year through virtual learning. We did get it in March to the end of doing some hybrid learning, but the kids' learning modalities have changed immensely over that year and a half. And that presents a big challenge for the way the kids learn, the way that we have to help support them moving forward. Okay, so now we fast forward into this school year. We started talking about what do kids need. So the first thing that we recognized pretty early is that the kids had to adjust back to the social environment of being around the students in schools. It was a year and a half before they were around other students. Some of the things that little children learn through school and social interaction was absent because their interaction was all online. So they had to kind of learn that face-to-face school over again, the social environment of things. Most students in our school started the school year not knowing the adults in the building. And that's not just because we have high transiency rate in our community. It's really because if you think about it, we have grade level schools. And over about a 2-year period, a kid progresses from 3rd grade to 5th grade, they're in a completely different building. They don't know the building, they don't know the climate and culture there, they don't know the staff, they don't know the expectations. So it's a whole new learning environment. So we had to take that into consideration when kids started school this year. And then the lack of continuity of in-person learning created gaps in students' learning that was hard to assess and support in a virtual setting. And that's kind of what I talked about, where people talked about the learning loss words. Everybody learns differently, and some people had success, but in the virtual learning, and some people struggle. And every kid's a unique individual. We couldn't just lump them together and say all kids had learning loss. We had to really attack each kid individually. And we started that as early as the supports we put in for this past summer. But I'm going to first just make sure I acknowledge, because it's critically important to acknowledge this, is that our families, our students, and our staff, just the Herculean effort that was put in place to make sure that while we address this pandemic, students had the support and the academic success they need, or academic support for them to be successful. And that's just not the academic success. There's mental health. There's issues that are going on with the kids they need support in. So the schools put in place ways to support families. And I'm talking about, we had bus drivers that were, instead of driving buses, going to homes, delivering packets. We had paraprofessionals that were used to doing one-on-one work with a kid in school, going to homes to check on them to see how they're doing just with wellness. We had security guards going to homes and delivering new technology. So people did things that were not in their scope of work, but they did it just because they wanted to make our kids be successful. The teachers, if you think about the different ways the teachers had to teach and just drop from the in-person learning to creating packets, to providing an online platform, to doing some online and some in person, just amazing when you look back on it to what people did. And our administrative team supporting all those challenges and really taking a lot of abuse from people, because there's a lot of second guessing about what should happen. Everybody has an opinion about going back or not going back, or what should we do. And they stayed the course. They kept the focus on our kids. So I'm just very proud of our staff. But when you take a look at the families and the things they endured, I mean, having to work a job and then have your kid at home, make sure your kid's online, giving them the support they need. Sometimes you're being a teacher for your kids. Those are things that family systems were not used to doing. And for them to do that and work so hard for their kids was amazing. And our kids, again, they're used to school as school, and they adapted every single time to the ways that we had to provide learning for our students. So I just want to, before I go any further on things, just acknowledge and thank our kids, their families, and our staff for all the hard work that they did and put in during that pandemic. Okay, so with all that, negativity that we've heard about the pandemic, there were some good things that came out of it. And so, we always try to focus on the positive. So one of the things that happened is that we really put a focus on integrating technology in the classroom. And, we had people that did it, in some parts, but it wasn't systemic. And we were forced to do that. And our teachers really learned a lot. And I think our students enjoyed some of the engagement from the technology. So we're not advocates, proponents of the online learning as the best way to teach kids, but implementing technology as a resource and a support for kids is important. We did learn that, and that's come out of this. The board has been gracious enough to support us in purchasing enough devices for us to go to one-to-one, which means every kid in the district will have a device of their own to take home and bring to school every day. It won't be they're learning through the computer every single day and that's it, but it's going to be a tool that they can use to support their learning, to learn, grow, research, investigate, and find things out about the world. So we're very happy that we're able to do that for our students. The other good thing that came out of this is the federal government gave us a lot of money. And we're very thankful that that was there because, as a district that doesn't always get the equitable resources that many other places do, it was nice to see this money come in and then be able to think and plan about how we can use it to support the needs of our kids. Now, I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. The other thing that came out of it is just, and this is really just with the contact we have with families and, and that's, I'm just gonna go to the last one here because I think it's important. The relationship that happened between families and teachers over this pandemic and the communication that happened was so valuable. And that was critical in getting that connection for the learning of our kids. Sometimes that wasn't as strong as we wanted it to be, but last year was really strong. We wanted to continue focusing on that into the future. And so when I talk about the support for social emotional needs, families would communicate with us things that they were struggling with or that their kids were struggling with. And we recognize there are things that we can do outside of just the academic things to support our kids and families. And we really put a focus on that. You'll hear a little bit more about how we're doing that in the future. The other thing that it wasn't really a direct impact of the pandemic, but it did happen during the pandemic. And I think that because we were in the pandemic, it enabled us to have the proper focus on it was just the national focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The George Floyd murder caused us to take time to reflect on some issues that we're facing in this country that, frankly, in this community, we've been dealing with for a long time. And we've always talked about how important it was to address these issues, but I think it's shown a national spotlight on these issues. And it's enabled us to kind of continue that ball rolling. And while we've always tried to do these things that we want to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in our own community, we've been able to do it with other school districts, talk about state agenda, not just Maple Heights, and ask for equity for our kids. So that's important too. Another one that we talked about those resources. Every building, including this one right now, has $1 million. It's called it's a bipolar ionization needle point system. But it basically is a stair scrubbing system. Our board invested $1 million in putting that in each one of our buildings. It's supposed to kill 99% of all bacteria and viruses that are airborne. And so, just looking out for the safety and wellness of our kids, the health overall, that was a great thing that we can take out of and then the other thing that I was most impressed with was last year when we were trying to figure out how do we support our kids. It wasn't just the staff and the families that it was the community. And when I talk about community, I don't mean just the city.
Oh, that car look nice.
Mayor Blackwell, the city officials did everything they could to try to help us, help our students. But we had Father Amor. He offered to have places to help our students learn. We had the daycare systems in the schools working with us to support outside of school learning for our kids and how do we get the technology working. Everybody in the community pulled together. And so, when tough times happen and, you see the best or the worst out of people. And I think that last year we saw the best out of people in Maple Heights coming together to support our kids. I'm very proud of that. I'm thankful of our community for what they do. Okay, here are a few of the things that these are human resources. These are people that we hired in positions that the board allows us to hire. So we put together with that money that we were allotted, what kind of things can we do to support not just the academic needs, but the other needs of our kids. And so these are a few positions. And so we hired additional academic support teachers. These are not teachers that we just lowered class size. They're challenged or charged with ensuring that the students that are struggling with certain areas, they provide push-in or pull-out support to those kids. So we have and it's not just by grade, it's by the needs of the student. We do what's called bi-weekly assessments with our kids, and we use that data to kind of inform where we need to have these push-in supports. And so that's really been a blessing for us to have 12 additional adults that are pushing in and teaching and instructing the needs of the kids specifically. We have a wellness coordinator. She's here today, Tracy Collier. Okay, Ms. Collier is here. Ms. Collier is, I would say she's an expert in PBIS, in wellness, and in restorative practices. And she's helping us address some of the things that we talk about with inclusion and diversity, and also just how we treat people and respect one another. And so she's been a huge asset to not just the staff, but the administration and to our kids and families as well. So she's been a huge asset to helping us address some of those issues for our kids. We hired a homeless liaison. And through this pandemic, we recognized that a lot of families were losing jobs, people were turning homeless. And we've had some homeless issues in the past, but to have a homeless liaison that will meet with families, connect them to services, give them the support they need both in school and for outside of school support, it's been a huge asset and support to our families. We hired a job placement coordinator. Some of our kids need to get jobs and work. And so this person works at the high school level to work with some of our kids, predominantly the special needs students population, to make sure that there's a transitioning to the workplace for special needs students, but helping our kids get jobs so they can transition into the next part of their life. We have a family and engagement coordinator. I think Ms. Shai is, Angelique Shai is here. Again, another huge asset. We talked about how critical that relationship with our families was last year. We hired a person who was trying to find ways. She put a survey out on our website to ask families, how do you want to be engaged? She coordinated a father's walk for us. I mean, just trying to find ways to bring our families and keep our families actively engaged in what we do in the schools. This PowerPoint, this is probably the best PowerPoint I've ever put together, not because I put it together, but because Gia McCants, who's our new communication director, she branded our district information. She put together this PowerPoint. She's working on a newsletter. She's putting, she's put all of her social media together, but just making sure that we communicate with our families and in our community as much as possible and get the right message out to our folks and answer things that people want to know. So those have all been major things that help support our schools. And again, thank you to our Board of Education for allowing us to use these resources the way that will best help our kids. Okay, am I doing okay on time? Okay. Okay. So the schools, our primary responsibility is to support the kids academically. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the supports we put in place for this school year, because we can talk about the state report card. I'll give you some data on that. The focus is on student learning, and it's not just one test. It's not just data that we see in our report card. It's every day ensuring that we're giving our kids 100% of what they need. So the first thing we started was at the end of this summer, when we had the hybrid learning, we realized whatever we can do to get our kids back in school in the summer, let's do that. So Susan Jurasic, who's here, is our curriculum director. She put together a summer program for all kids, every single kid, every single day of summer, except for like around the 4th of July, for like a couple days and the week before school. There were academic supports and fun activities for kids to do. I know there was like a coding camp. There were probably 50 things that the kids could do all summer long. And, and that's also tied into the partners. We have Brenda Pryor from MyCom and some other folks that we have partnerships with Central State. But I mean, trying to find activities for kids to do. There were a ton of things for our kids to do. And a lot of kids took advantage of it, but it gave us an opportunity to see where kids were performing. Where were their gaps in their learning, and what could we do to support them? So that was very helpful to us and find out where our kids were. We started this year in-person learning. And just for those that are concerned about COVID still, we all are, on a weekly basis, I'm on the on a conference call with the Board of Health. We assess our own district data. We look at the county data, we look at state data, and if there was a need to go back, we're ready to transition to something if that needs be. I hope we don't have to go back to that, but we are ready if that needs to be the case. But we're thankful that we're in in-person learning and things have been going well for us. We post our COVID data on our website daily. And I get a lot of calls because we send emails every single day. Because we'd rather over communicate what's going on with COVID than under communicate it. And we'll take the time to answer questions and say, go look at our website. We had, someone will say, it's out of control at school X. And I'll be like, well, let's go to the website and look at it. This past week, there was one kid. And so while you got a notification, you also got emails from me every single day talking about COVID. We've done a pretty good job in Maple Heights. And again, I credit our community and our families because we haven't had a lot of the anti-mask sentiment in our community what other places have had. Our kids are being respectful about wearing masks at school. We've done a great job following great protocols. And because of that, our numbers are very low. If you compare our numbers to anywhere else, I think you'd be very proud of the way that we've handled and addressed the COVID situation. Okay, so I talked a little bit about this testing cycle that we do. This is not a state test I'm talking about. This is a short assessment. We do a thing called a MAP test. And we also our teachers do just regular 3-week cycles of testing for our kids to see where they are in the learning that they're presenting to them. When they see deficiencies, we do supports in class, but we also use those learning loss teachers to give kids specific interventions. So again, I'm very proud of the way that we're attacking this, not just grade level or school or look at a district report card. We are looking at each child and trying to give them what they need. So I give a lot of credit to our teaching staff, support staff, people that are trying to find and identify the weaknesses the kids have. We also were able to thankfully put in place after school programming at the high school, the middle school, and Obama at this point, and we have after school care for our elementary campus. So there's opportunities for kids to also get things outside of the school. Okay, I'm going to shift to the state report card. And I talked to you a little bit about in the past, there's 6 indicators. And I typically get up there and talk about each indicator and I explain what it means. I explain how we perform and maybe sometimes how some of this data really, there's some skew to it, the way that it's collected at the state level. Some of it's accurate, but I'll oftentimes have conversations about that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the past 2 years because last year they did a state report card, but when they did, there was no testing at the end of March in 2019. So because of that, there was really no comparative data they could put on the state report card, but there were a few areas that they could collect. One of them was a graduation rate. And they do 2 things, a 4 and a 5-year graduation rate. So basically, if you graduate in 4 years, what's the graduation rate? And then we have a program called ECAP, which is an alternative program for kids to help them be successful. It's not for bad kids, it's for kids that need help and assistance and credits. And those kids can work to also graduate in 5 years. So we put these programs together to help support our kids. And so there's a 4 and a 5-year graduation rate that the state measures. And then there's a component they call prepare for success. And on that component, they have several things they measure and they call that success. And it was added a few years back. It was difficult at first for several districts to figure out what it was. And as we studied it, it was pretty amazing that all the predominantly poor and all the predominantly African-American districts had Fs in this indicator. Until we started asking questions about what was being measured and how we did these things. And we found it was a 2-year average. And so we started figuring how to focus on these things and we started showing some growth in it, but that's something that they also measure. And then the other thing is there's a portion called K-3 literacy data. And what they do is they measure how successful kids that were off track in kindergarten through 3rd grade were in getting on track. And so there was some data in that they could collect. So those are the things that they were able to collect in last year's report card. Okay, so I'm going to give you some slides that I'm very proud of that I presented last year because I want you to see what we did last year in that area. So this is our 4-year graduation rate. If you look at Maple Heights where the column in red, and I did not, because I don't believe in the comparative part of things and making ourselves feel good to make others feel bad. But these are other districts that are urban and 99% poverty across the whole state of Ohio. And you can see our graduation rate at the time was about 92.9%. And you can see across the state what the graduation rates of those other districts were. So again, I would fully commend our staff at the high school, the counselors, the principals, that ECAC program, just attacking each kid individually. What do you need? How can we get you to graduate? What can we do? Working with families. So that was a lot of hard work, but there was a focus on, they did an awesome job. I'm going to show you the 5-year in a different comparison group. So this is any students that have across the entire state, over 50% of African-American students across the state. Again, we were at 94.9 in last year's data. You can take a look at the other districts across the state that served over 50% students, nowhere near what we were. And again, not to diminish what they're doing. There's a lot of challenges everyone's facing, but this is more of a credit to what the staff here and our students are doing to make sure they graduate and go on to be successful. I talked about that K-3 literacy. Okay, so here's an example, and this was first grade students who were off track that became on track after a year of education in Maple Heights City Schools. One of the challenges we have is in our district and some of our surrounding communities is the kids, they bounce from community to community because of housing or transport or issues. And that's always a challenge because there's a loss of continuity in what they're learning. But if we take a kid for a year, that's what this represents. The kids that we had in first grade that were off track, couldn't come in and weren't able to read, 85% of them were able to read with 1 year of instruction. You take a look at that, and that's it compared to Northeast Ohio. And that's a big staff focused on what our kids need. Okay, and this is that prepare for success area. Those numbers talk about the percentages that the state said will prepare for success. I don't like this metric, but I know this. It's what we're measuring on, so we're going to keep working to improve it. And you can see that back in 2015, we're about 5%. 2016, when we found out about it, we found it was a 2-year average, and we had to do something about it. And so over the past couple of years, we doubled and then doubled again what we did for prepare for success. So again, we're not satisfied, but we are proud that we're making progress in the right direction in that area. Okay, so the state testing last year did occur, but I want to remind you that when we did testing in October, none of our kids were in school. They were all virtual. Even in the March, we had just transitioned to a hybrid learning. So we did our best to get our kids to school. Families were afraid to send kids to school, frankly, last year. We did. So the data that we have for this year is data. And any data is good data because we can use it to get better. But I don't think it's really representative of our kids or their ability or what happened during the pandemic. So there is data that's out there. And the state report card is not released for this school year, but they gave us our data for us to look at. The state superintendent said, don't worry about the data. He's since retired this year, but he said, don't worry about the data. You use that as a foundation. And I'm thankful that he made that comment because that is important. We got to see where we are. And we got to find ways to get better. So we are using that data for that purpose. And like I mentioned, the things that we're doing instructionally now, I think are going to pay dividends for it to show our kids' results next year. The other thing that we did is I talked about those MAP assessments that we used. That's really how we can tell where kids are. The state assessment is a one-time test at the end of the year. And I mean, a kid could have a bad day. Maybe the kid's struggling with something that's tragic in his life. Grandmother made that. I mean, you never know. But that's one test. But when we do these cyclical tests with our kids, we get over and over more information about how our kids are performing. We can use that to help. We feel that's the more important data that we're using. Okay, so the state report card contains all 6 areas. Some of it is not very helpful, and it really won't give us much information to judge about our success. A few of the things would be like the graduation rate. I'm going to show you our graduation rate for this district. So in 2016, our 4-year graduation rate was at 78.6. That was higher than the state average at the time. So, still, we should be embarrassed with 78.6%. We put things in place to try and get better attention and focus to our kids. We rose from 80 to 92 to 92.8 to 92.6. What you won't see is the results of 2021 because that won't come out till next year. But our graduation rate last year was 96%. That's probably some of the highest in the entire state. So I'm very proud again of what our staff and families are doing for our kids. Our 5-year graduation rate. Again, and that matriculates for kids that were 4-year. It only gets higher with the kids that continue to grow. And so we've been consistently over the past 2 years. And again, this year, that again is not reflected till next year, we're at 95.9% of our 5-year graduation rate. So again, one of the highest graduation rates in the state. And so both for 4 and 5-year graduation rate for our students. Okay, so this is just telling you that the 4-year graduation rate for African-American students across the state is 75% this past year. Maple Heights graduation rate last year was 92.6, and this year is 96.1. We're 21% higher graduation rate than the state average. And we helped make that state average higher for the Okay. I'm going to go on to what I think is more important than a state report card. And this is really, where do we as a community feel we need to put our eggs in the basket for our kids learn? And so what we do is we have always talked about having a vision and mission. When I first got here, I remember we didn't have one. And I think that, and this was way back, many of you weren't even around, many of you were, many of you were not. And we had a lot of strife and internal issues in the district. And the best thing we did was put together a vision and mission at that time and to try to get all of our arrows aligned and focused on the right direction. And that really helped set us in the right space. So we've done it every year as a school board, and we've done many different ways of doing it. But the school board, who's a voice of the community, leads that vision and mission. They tell us, it's not what I say or the staff says. The school board says, this is what our community wants and believes we should do for our kids. And that sets the bar of our work. From there, we put together what's called a continuous improvement plan. And that's basically, okay, that's what the vision and mission is. How are we going to get that done? And so again, we've had a variety of ways to think about putting that together. But that document kind of drives the things that we're going to do. So when you look at our vision and mission currently,
I said it's
this
bad
is, from our board, educating our students,
over it. I
expectations
told
for
him come get it
excellence,
tonight.
prepare them for a lifetime of success.
I don't.
It
yeah,
sounds very simple,
over
but it helps us all keep a clear focus on what we're trying to do. When we talk about all those things that we try to do for kids and things I just described to you, they're all related to living this vision and mission out. And you're going to hear a clear message when you see the things that we do, how it aligns to that vision and mission. So in the fall of 2018 was our last continuous improvement cycle. And Ms. Moore, Wendell Garth, and there were several community members, students, staff sat on a committee to help put together that continuous improvement plan at that time. And we did that and we presented to the board in January of 2019. But we had 3 years of putting something together of what we would try and get done. And remember, that plan took place as we were navigating a pandemic. And I'm going to show you the things that we did during that time because I'm so proud that all the goals that we said we were going to do, we accomplished. Which led us to this summer saying, okay, what are we going to do now? Because, that's done, but we can't just rest on our laurels. We've got to do something else. And all those things that I just talked about earlier that are important, our board sat down this summer and said, we can't wait a year. We can't wait to get a committee together. Let's get the board to say the voice of what is important to this community. And we're going to ask you to put together with your administrative staff the things that will make that happen. So that's the process we use this time. And we put together a 5-year plan. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 3-year and 5-year. On the 3-year plan, and this was on our website, and it had dates and times and things we tried to get done, but there were 4 main areas. The first one was curriculum instruction, making sure that what we did for kids academically was our paramount, most important thing. Some of the things we did, I mentioned to you about the MAP testing and looking at data. We didn't used to look at data as deeply as we do now. It's like, okay, well, how are our kids doing a test? We are analyzing things with data, rooms, walls, and folders. Kids have folders of their academic work so they can track their own progress. Teachers know how their kids are performing and buildings know how to perform. We know at the district level. So we have a whole system of data tracking that gets down to the student level. That was again brought on by this work that our board and our community said we wanted to do. Structured walkthrough. So it was good enough to put the data in place, but we needed to have a very regimented way of what will principals and administrators do when they're in classrooms to make sure that we're being successful. And so we put together a walkthrough tool that navigated all the things that we said are important and made sure different classrooms we're focusing on ensuring that kids are being loved, are they being cared for, are they, are we making sure that we're looking at doing diverse instruction in the classroom. So all those things are included in our walkthrough tool. Two is we do an annual assessment of our data. So the board has me account to them with our data at the end of the school year, and we talk about, here's where we're really successful. Here's a place we need to focus on next year. It's, it's a way for us to just stop, pause, and reflect on where we are and figure out where we need to move forward every single year. I know I'm going way over, but the college and career readiness piece, again, just making sure that our kids are prepared to graduate and graduate with something successful. So we put a lot of things in place from ACT testing and support to college tours to kids having career exploration to so many different things. So that's success and help for our graduation rate. We talked about expecting excellence. And if we don't define excellence, then how do kids know what it is? How do our staff know what it is? So we spent time defining what we call grade bands of excellence. So every grade says, okay, well, what does excellence look like? Because it's not the same at 12th grade as it is at second grade. So the staff and Mr. Rossick led several of our graduates and some students to talking about what would that be. And we have it defined by grade level. And at the end of 12th grade, what we call portrait of a graduate, what we expect our graduates to be when they leave about Maple Heights City Schools. Our attendance, we work with the Browns. We've probably seen a lot of the stay in the game things that we put out about attendance. Attendance is a problem, but we're looking at ways to attack it with incentives and rewards and support, and just making awareness of families for how important attendance is. And we've already talked about the social emotions. And the last one was develop and maintain relationships. That's the key to everything. If we don't know our kids, they don't know us, and we don't understand what they need, then we're not going to be successful. If we don't have rapport with our families, if we don't have the rapport that we have, like I just mentioned, between our community, then we're not going to have the success that we need for our kids. So that was important. We really focused on that and getting that plan in place. And the last thing, and again, this is Gia's invention. It's an infographic. And these are the 4 areas in our new plan that we are going to focus on. Again, same vision and mission. We don't change it up every couple of years just because. If it works, that's what we need to work for our kids. We live it out. But how we do our work, we're not just saying, well, let's do more data walk. These are new areas that we want to focus on as we move forward over the next 5 years. And so I don't have a presentation on what we've done in the past 3 months on this, but I do have some good news for you. That if you want to find out how we're doing, I'd like you to come to our next board meeting on Monday of next week, where we will be doing a district present out on these 4 areas and what we've done and what we've accomplished to date. So we believe it's important to communicate and do it publicly, the work and effort that we're putting in. And it's not just a document we're putting on the screen. We have to live this out every day, and we need to account to it. So we're going to do that 2 ways. There'll be a quarterly report out. The first one's next week, the 25th, 2 weeks from now. And then every quarter after that, we'll do a district report out at the board meeting. And then our buildings also have to go with building level plans that support those continuous improvement plan goals as well. And so every building once a month will also report out publicly at a board meeting what they're doing to accomplish these goals, just so we can account to our community of the work that we're doing. So I know I went on for very long, and I apologize for being long-winded, but this is important work, and I'm very proud of our kids. And just to be honest with you, when I put this together, I thought this is going to be great for our community, but it was really it was great for me because sometimes you get stuck in the day-to-day of all the the negativity and things that people get drugged down by. And when you stop for a minute and reflect back on all the good work that's happened in this community and in our schools, I think we can all be very proud of the people that work here and the people that do things for our kids and for our community. So thank you for listening to me today. Next, I'll invite up our mayor, Mayor Annette Blackwell, who's going to talk about the state of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keenan. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. Okay. Wasn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
That is my partner. I want to tell you guys, I had the pleasure of working for Dr. Keenan for 4 years as the Parent Academy Coordinator, which I had to quit when I became mayor. But I started the service and the work that I do in Maple Heights, working with Dr. Keenan as the Parent Academy Coordinator. And that is an engagement program for parents, and it was fantastic. We've continued to work together very successfully. You saw this report card. And I'm glad for the people that are here, because this is where the truth is told. And we both sometimes deal with the negativity and the perception that's not accurate, it's not the truth. This is data. This isn't an opinion. This can be backed up with facts. And so I'm very, very happy that we were able to do this together. We did it last year virtually, and so I'm happy to do it again on purpose, because this is the story about Maple Heights. It's a story about what's happening in our educational system. It's important. This is how people choose where to live. This is how we compete. I often say, for those who become the city council members, you hear some things where I'm being redundant. There's 59 communities in Cuyahoga County. We're competing all the time. Where do they choose to live? Where are they going to come to work? This is how we compete. Our children are very important to us. It's our succession plan. It's our future. I'm going to go very quickly to introduce my staff, because my law director, who I do not like when he leaves me, but he's also the law director of Woodmere, has to leave very quickly. So I'm going to quickly introduce him, because he is a significant part of what you'll see here and how we'll be able to achieve it. So Attorney Frank Consolo, law director, thank you so much. You are released to go to Woodmere and work for Mayor Ben Holber. Oh, you tell Ben that I don't like it when he takes you away from me, but I did schedule this on Mayor Holbert's night. This is his night. You'll see in front of me, and I'll just do this so we can get right into the presentation. I want to keep this momentum going. It's Fire Chief Vito Cavalonis. He's our fire chief. And Human Services Director Linda Bocat. Finance Director Mrs. Tina Tillman. Police Chief Todd Hanson. Police Sergeant Brian Heather. To my right is going to be co-presenting with me, who helped me to. So you have a communications director. I have an economic development director who is acting as my communications director, Patrick Rogan Myers, who's an economic director. Also tonight, we have our elected officials with us. My backup, my partner, our city council president, Mr. Ron Jackson. We have city council persons. I don't know if I see District 1, but I did see District 2, councilperson Tony Jones. I'm sure District 3 is here, but I see District 4, councilperson Dana Anderson. Councilperson District 5, Timothy Madden. Councilperson Mr. Jajanski, District 6. Councilperson Edwina Agent, District 7. Also tonight, my executive assistant, Natalie Tripp. I see Regina, I'm not gonna get her, Stoney. She used to be with Chamber of Commerce, but we took her and she is now with Maple Heights. She is administrative assistant to Patrick Rogan Myers, our economic development office. There's a lot of Gina's work here tonight. Thank you so much for helping put this together. We've got Tanya Black, who is somewhere, senior van driver. Linda always tells me there's Linda, tell me now, did I miss any of our staff? And I have a wonderful colleague, a champion, a mentor, Mayor Stan Kochi from Bedford. And I am on the Suburban Council of Governors, and we went out to the crib, and I passed out. And when I woke up, this man was carrying me into the boat. You spent many years as a fire chief. Fire chief, so he knew exactly what to do with me. Assistant fire chief. The fire chief in Maple had to correct me, so assistant fire chief. But he saw me as the water was going and I went down. And so not only does he save my life when I get stuck on something, I was a new mayor, I did not grow up in politics, I literally left business and came to politics. I would call Stan, and he let me also work very close with your city manager, Mike Malice, who's absent today, but when I get stuck on a piece of legislation or how to read something, I call Stan the man. Stan, thank you so much for being here. Doreen is new. I knew I was gonna forget someone. She is our staff accountant. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna jump right into it, but before I do that, I have two special presentations tonight. And I love doing this because I always catch them and surprise them. And one of the things that we do, and this is something I'm continuing, it was done by previous administrations, is that we've got some exceptional people in the school district, but we also have exceptional people in the city. And so tonight I'm going to do two presentations. The first one is Citizen of the Year. Patrick, will you help me? I don't have my glasses. One of them, they take care of me. I take Frank's glasses. I'll give it back to you. I do want to acknowledge some women in the house that I just recently became a member of the Black Women Political Action Committee. My sisters, they are here. Black Women Political Action Committee. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Help me. This is heavy. I have a lot of people to help me. This year, 2021 Citizen of the Year is Father Emil of St. Andrews. Emil is a 1988 graduate of St. John's Orthodox Seminary in South Canaan, Pennsylvania, earning his master's in divinity in 1991. In February of 2001, Father Emil, along with his beloved wife, let me get these names from Matushka, Larissa, daughter Natalia, and son Zachary and Stefan, moved from Holy Trinity Orthodox Church in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, to the city of Maple Heights, where Father Emil became the second priest to lead and serve the congregation of St. Andrew's Eastern Orthodox Church, whereas Father Emil became a valued, selfless, and dedicated resident of Maple Heights. It is not unusual to see children of the community being welcomed to use the parking lot to ride their bikes and skateboards, practice parking and driving, and share a cold drink and some conversation with Father on a hot day. Because of his diplomacy and prudent judgment, Father Emil has been called on by the city administration, me, to assist in conflict resolution between neighbors in the city of Maple Heights. Father Emil willingly and generously offers his church hall at no cost to the mayor, city council members, and department heads for city Maple Heights events such as the community meetings, Easter Fest, community shred days, and our mobile farmers market to assist in alleviating food insecurity to our residents. Father Emil is known for his concern and warm regard for the city he calls homes and offers weekly prayers for the city, the mayor, and the police, and fire personnel, and all first responders. Therefore, I am in Blackwell, Mayor of the City of Maple Heights, on behalf of the city, the administration, city council, and all its residents proclaim Father Emilian D. Hutton, 2121, Citizen of the Year, and send our sincere gratitude for his dedication and generosity to the city of Maple Heights. Father Emil, thank you for everything. And thank you, Charlie, for acknowledging this.
Well, I got 8 more years to retire, as long as the Lord gives me life. My mom took, after 28 years of marriage, contracted ovarian 4. She took care of me 8 years of dialysis, 2 transplants. I would like to tell my Black brothers and sisters as I entered the school for the first time, when I needed my first transplant, I was being abused for bedwetting by my father, who was a priest. And I listened so intensely to your superintendent. I was abused so bad, I changed my grades in high school because I got beat when I got home. We got thrown out of 16 churches when I grew up like a military grad. I don't know what would happen today. They called me to the office. It's going to go back to your class because I didn't want to get beaten at home. I'm one of 9 children. 5 of 9 are divorced. One's epileptic, on transplant. I could write a trail of tears, but I love life. And then when my Matushka meets little mother of the church in Russia, and I'm Matushka, or her father. Unlike the Roman Catholic Church, we're married before ordination. We wear the ring on the right hand. I plan to retire when I'm able, if I make it. I hope not to go back to dialysis. I love this city. The church has been there for 51 years. We're renting the hall like crazy because the HBT club no longer is capable of doing it. So we're renting it, and basically the fish fries and the renting are paying my salary. It's a $3.9 million building. And you're all welcome to come see, take a 2-cent tour. I thank the mayor. I support her, the fire, the police, the court. The last 2 mayors used the hall. And I, not only any organization, especially the government or charity, we offer our hall for free. So may God bless you all. And in our language, bohom means tonight, everybody go in peace, go home with God. Thank you.
I don't stop at citizens because it takes a community, and Dr. Keenan, you set this up for me very easily, to do what we do, to overcome the negativity, overcome the poverty rate, or 20% poverty rate. The city is demographically changing. Our value, many of us for many years were under the water, and I'll get into how our property values are changing. But I like to also acknowledge the business of the year. And he's wondering why he's here, and he kind of figured it out, what it is K&K means. So it's a 2021 business of the year. He is an amazing entrepreneur and partner of people from all over, not just Maple Heights. Come to K&K meetings where you can order a whole cow, pig, tons of bacon, short ribs. I just stand there and go, what am I gonna get? I always spend $20, I end up spending $100. It's just that amazing. So on behalf of City of Maple Heights, I'd like to say in June of 1979, and thank you family for keeping it from him, and mom for the history. We appreciate it. You were getting a little suspicious. I didn't know this. In June of 1979, the Kohler family continued a family tradition when they chose a location nestled in the corner of Attorney Dunham Shopping Center in the city of Maple Heights to establish and open K&K Meats, a neighborhood butcher shop that would span 42 years serving this community. The Kohler family, Father Dennis, Mother Bonnie, and their young children, Denny Jr., Julie, and David, worked side by side to make this business thrive. And Denny Jr. eventually became, this is Denny Jr., eventually became the owner of K&K Meats and continues in that capacity today with brother David and mom Bonnie at his side. Over the years, K&K Meats has been blessed with countless dedicated employees, my neighbor around the corner, that have served their customers with kindness, patience, and respect. And K&K Meats prides itself in providing only the highest quality meats, prepared foods, party trays, smoked and fresh sausage made daily inside their in-store smokehouse to the community. Customers are always met with a smile and genuine warmth and friendliness. K&K Meats serves as an ambassador for the city of Maple Heights, attracting and welcoming customers from all corners of Northeast Ohio. Denny and his staff provided countless acts of kindness to residents in need in our community. We know about them. Denny remains diligent in protecting his customers and staff during the pandemic and has been steadfast and optimistic during the Dunham Road reconstruction. Thank you for providing the food and hosting us as we for celebrating that new road. So therefore, I am Mayor Nan Blackwell on behalf of the City of Maple Heights, the administration, City Council, and all of the residents declare K&K Meats and owner Dennis Kohler the 2021 Business of the Year, and wish you many years of continued success and prosperity. Thank you for staying in Maple Heights. They never know. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll just say what's on your heart.
The most important thing is just my staff, my community. Without my staff, my community, the store wouldn't exist. And it's the most I can say. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I'll be good to get my baby. Can I step away? Can I step away with it? They'll take care of it. See how people take care of me. I like, oh, Frank, you need your glasses. Can I give it to you tomorrow? I'll put them here. I want to, so they keep glasses for me. So I want to start very quickly from State of the City, get right into it because you guys have been so patient. There's food here. There's food here. Please make sure if you haven't eaten. Is that pretty good? And that's from a local caterer, Teresa's Pizza. Teresa's Pizza is in Dunham County Shopping Center. Thank you. Also want to acknowledge Vince Crawford from Waste Management and your manager, Ryan Johnson. So you can talk to them later. I know there's some issues with Waste Management. They've been a partner. We owed Waste Management so much money when I started. They gotta stop picking up trash. Thank you for the credit line. I said, give me time. Give me time. We will pay you. We have paid you every cent that we owe you. Thank you so much. People say, why do you say with Waste Management? Because they gave me grace when we couldn't pay them. We also have Sugar Valley Engineering here. I told you the same thing. You came in and everybody told me how much money we owed them. I came into a city with a $2.79 million deficit. Sugar Valley is our city engineering. You see a lot of the engineering projects, and you see some street repair that said, he said, you owe me a lot of money. He brought me a stack of invoices like this. I said, give me time. I will pay you. I paid you every dime that I owe you. Great. Let's talk about where we are now. So I'd like you to meet the people. I mentioned our council president. These are our council persons. Some are here, some are not, but there are 7 districts. The city that is now almost 25,000. We just got our census. We were 22,138. The last census, which was it 2020, when was it the last census before that? 2010, so every 10 years. We're now probably 3%, and that's the biggest growth we've had since 1970. And so each of these council persons is responsible for about 3,000 residents. They're your first point of contact. I know you guys love to call me. I know you guys love to text me. You guys love to start by City Hall. You email me. Like there's a lot of you and one of me. These 7 people are very capable of addressing your concerns. So here they are. I want to talk tonight about public safety and service, city finances, administration, community development, and then planning for the future. That's our wonderful gazebo. Public safety and service. Police Chief Todd Hansen. I've introduced you to Chief Cavalinas. Ed Wren is not here, but his firm is represented and his Sugar Valley engineer. I call him GG. It's a term of endearment. He's my grant genius. Why do I do that? Because 95% of the grants that we applied for, with the help of GG, who was our dedicated engineer in the firm Sugar Valley, we win. We just had a change in our service director, and we have an acting service director, Bob Delaniak. I don't think he's here tonight, but we didn't get a picture of him, but Bob Delaniak is our acting service director, the departure of our service director, Mr. Cerisi. Let's talk about public safety and service. Our fire division call volume is approaching 6,000 for the year. It's increased by over 200 calls due to COVID-19. We've got 5 recently, and one of the things, we've got a lot of retirements, and there's a lot of competition among the 59 communities. But we've been able to, with successful recruitment, Chief Vito Cavallin is taking the lead on identifying available candidates, and they would add 5 firefighters and paramedics. And we put that a lot on the website, so you can take a look. We've got a lot of new young faces in our city, and we've got some diversity. We've achieved diversity in the fire department as well. That was one of my goals. We've continued to partner with Cleveland Clinic with a mobile stroke unit. So we're able to save a lot of lives. We got a letter just recently of someone's life we saved because we have this partnership with Cleveland Clinic, with the Cleveland Clinic mobile stroke unit. Chief Cavalinas is so happy. He's elated because we've been trying to get this, and you know, Finance Director, this 2021 state-of-the-art ambulance is going to be delivered in November 21. We've been working on this for probably over a year. It's going to be soon, and our fire station 1, we've got 2 fire stations. Station 1's on Morrison Road, Station 2 is on Dunham Road. We're gonna get a new state-of-the-art ambulance, and we need it because we're running, I don't know, how many calls a day. Sometimes we're, as a primary care physician, sometimes it's fact that the person who's sick doesn't have transportation, and we're there. And so we put a lot of miles on this ambulance. We're running them into the ground. So we are finally getting a new ambulance. I will be over to sit in it and go for a ride. They usually take me for rides. I've had some bad days, I've had some good days, but each time I've been in the ambulance, you know about the passing out. Thank you, and I've had some passing out in my office. You guys pick up the floor, but I'm getting better with managing all of these falling outs. But our police division is extremely busy. I get the reports every day. We're averaging about 85 calls a day, so I know that there's a lot of frustration about parking on the street, parking on the grass, speeding, and people blowing through stop signs. But when you're averaging 90 calls a day with less than 40 police officers, it's very tough to get to those things that don't have a higher of a priority than a shooting in progress.
And hire more.
Interview in progress, a missing child, but they do their best. They receive over 32,000 calls, that small department, right there on Lee Road. We have been able to hire in this challenging and competitive environment, 9 police officers, 3 auxiliary officers, 1 corrections officer, and we're still looking for auxiliary officers, police officers, level transfers. We posted in our records clerk. We're expanding the digital training program to keep up with the data skills and topics so we can address crime, kind of like what Dr. King and my colleagues said. Data lets us know what we need to do to continue to strategize, to make this a safer place, to recruit and retain. And we're continuing some community policing. Community policing, we've done Zoom with the cop, we've done coffee with the cop at the McDonald's on Norfolk Road. We also do shop with the cop. We go out with our children to the Target in Macedonia, and I see policemen getting to the top shelf, picking up little Barbie dolls and fire trucks, and we have a really, really good time. We joined several other police departments. We also have Mocktail, which is a program sponsored by University Hospitals, the whole car seat safety program. And we have Community Life and Education Committee, which is a committee chaired by 3 council persons. We have an annual trunk or treats. It's this year, and I forget the date, but they'll be around to answer some questions. But our police are very engaged with the community. In addition to fighting crime and doing our very best to keep you safe, they also are very much immersed and integrated in our community with our children, with our school children, with our seniors. You'll see them at various council persons, community meetings. You can see, you can go up close to them, you can touch, ask them questions, even hard questions. May not be the answer you want, but they will always tell you the truth. I'm very, very proud. We've implemented new technology to help keep you safer. You probably heard we bought 32 flock cameras to the tune of almost $170,000. Thank you, Finance Director, for finding the money for us. These are license plate readers. We need to know who's coming in the city and who's going out of the city. It aids our investigations, helps us speed up the ability to solve crimes and deter crimes. So we're extremely excited about these cameras. Chief and I have been kind of looking at them for a year or so. You'll see that Independence just installed these cameras, Solon just installed these cameras, and we're going to install these cameras. We're very close to highways. And so people are able to get in the city and get out of the city quickly. We need to see who's coming in, and we need to see who's leaving. And so this is going to help us. Many of the strategies that we're trying to use to really improve the safety, solve crimes quickly, and deter as much crime activity as we possibly can.
Yeah, what about the speeders?
So what have we done? Here we've still in public safety and service. What we've done is we put 18, almost 19 lane miles of roads have been resurfaced. I'm here about the street repairs. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to go to the slide. Another almost 6 miles of resurfacing scheduled for 2022. That is what Chagrin Valley, our engineering firm, does. They help us find the grants. They secure the contractors, and they help us with our infrastructure repairs and upgrades. Over $4 million in grants have been awarded for water line replacements. You guys see the city being torn up. We're fixing infrastructure. We're 100 years old. The city celebrated centennial in 2015, 1915 to 2015, 100 years old. It's time to replace infrastructure. So you'll see a lot of that happening right now when you see the streets turn up. I know it's inconvenient, but this is important to move the city forward. Sewer repair, street lighting, and tree canopy. How many of you seen all the new LED lights still going down Broadway and across the Granger Bridge? One of the things that I heard when I came to the city was that Maple Heights is a dirty, dark, and dangerous city. Well, we're trying to deal with dirty. Got a street sweeper. We try to have the service guys clean up as much as they can, vacant lots before they can cut the lot. They're picking up Gatorade bottles, juice bottles, and candy wrappers. We're doing our best to clean up the city. Dangerous. We've got our police chief. We talked about how many calls that we go to. You see the recruitment we're doing in the efforts to retain some of the best and most courageous and accomplished officers we possibly can. The block cameras are part of that. You'll see on the ballot, there is legislation by the Charter Review Commission that means every 5 years we must bring back red light cameras. We're doing as much as we can. We've installed, I forget how many cameras at Stafford Park to keep that park safe. How many cameras? 10 cameras at Stafford Park, putting more lighting at Stafford Park. All of these are things that we're trying to do to just increase public safety, give a sense of safety in the city. We've cut the ribbon on over $3 million of Dunn Road resurfacing and bike lanes. It's a picture where we, and this was a joint project. People said, how are you finding money to repair Dunn Road? It was a joint project with the village of Walton Hills. Mayor Dan Colegraph paid for half of the road repair. Our city paid for the other half of the road repair. The county gave us that grant money was split, I should say, not paid, but that grant money was split between 2 districts. The only way we get the money if we agree to collaborate, because remember, 3 or 4 years ago, we got a metro park in Maple Heights. Dunn Road once, the Dunham Park now is a metro park. They want to increase environmental justice and better access to green space. And so that opens right up when you go down Dunham Road to the Cuyahoga Valley. It's Bedford Park. Bedford Park Reservation, which is in Stan's City, all the way out to the full Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And you know that Metro Park is one of the best park systems in the nation, right? We have one in Maple Heights. How many people knew that? How many people knew? Yeah, we have a national park system rated very highly. And then important to me and to my council president and to improve ADA accessibility, we're putting an elevator on a really old building in Maple Heights. City Hall is getting an elevator. How many people have seen that? Thank you, Sugar Valley, for organizing that as well. A new elevator is going to have a glass case. It's going to be really fancy. So, you know, I'm like Stan Kochi. I can't build a beautiful municipal center like that. Just don't have the money. But I
Don't need a fancy elevator.
So why am I not have that wonderful municipal center? I'm getting an elevator. How many of you seen the amazing flowers? An elevator, and I've got amazing landscaping. And very soon, we will have a huge announcement of some other things that are going to be in place, but I can't tell you just yet because the ink isn't dry. A huge announcement coming out very soon about some other amazing things we're going to do at City Hall. Let's talk about City Finance Administration and get into this language. Our Director of Finance, we saw our law director's glasses and holding. He also manages our human resources, our collective bargaining agreement. This is great news. In 2016, well, in 2015, we'll start there. The city was placed in 2014 fiscal watch. This is how long these financial challenges have been plaguing the city. 2014 fiscal watch. 2015, we did get our act together. We couldn't raise our revenue. We were placed in fiscal emergency. So state auditor, at the time it was David Yost, and it was state auditor Keith Faber, put the city in fiscal emergency. We're one of 2 cities in Cuyahoga County that was placed in fiscal emergency. Basically bankrupt. We couldn't pay the bills. I walked into the city as the mayor with a $2.79 million deficit. Today I stand here on October the 12th, 2021. I'm going to tell you that general fund balance is $6 million. Positive. Leadership, we received a clean audit for 2020. Best practices policy to sustain financial health. We assisted over 50 taxpayers with tax issues. I'm going to pause here for a second. So we're Rita Income Tax Agency. I happen to be the secretary for the Regional Income Tax Agency. They collect our city municipal taxes. But sometimes people get really behind and it's great to have penalties and interest. And Ms. Tillman will take her time to help them navigate through that, to help with the penalties and interest. We want them to pay their portion of taxes. We have a couple of sources of revenues. I can't pay people, we can't do this program, we can't shovel snow, we can't pick up trash without money. This is a business, it's over $30 million business. You need money, right? I always say it's revenue minus expenses tells us what we really can spend. Because I don't want to go back for a city being in fiscal emergency and having the state tell me if I could buy paper clips. It was that intense. That kind of oversight. And so it's important. The revenues are, income tax is our largest source of revenue. It's 2.5% of your income tax. Property tax, although the portion that goes to Dr. Keenan in the school system, they get over 50, 60% of the property tax. We get a portion of that. I'm here to tell you, Maple Heights is the second city in Cuyahoga County of 59 that has the highest rate of property tax delinquency. You guys ask for a lot and try to give you a lot, but you got to pay your fair share. You must pay your fair share. The third source of revenue is the local government funding, over $1 million. The government raises from 1.66% to 1.67%. And then grants, which is why Sugar Valley and those grants, the grant genius in that firm do are so important. You see all these improvements, it's not coming out of our general fund, which is our main checking account. When we have that kind of void in our property taxes, and you say, why isn't my road street, what's happening with my tax dollars? Not everybody's putting their money out. So we're working with the budget that we have. Please understand that. When you make these demands, are you doing your part? Now, I said this to a friend of mine who called me. I just don't understand what's happening. If you belong to a club, you don't pay your membership dues. You lose your right to vote, and you probably get kicked out of the club. There's membership dues. Your property income tax, your property taxes. There's no kicking out, but you get the benefits of the membership by paying your dues. So when you want to know what's happening in Maple Heights, some people aren't paying their fair share. They're not paying their dues. And so the rest of us have to
We
cover
are, and
that shortfall.
how are you gonna
That's
get on
tough.
them?
It's tough to do every month. And this finance director can tell you. So we were officially released from the fiscal emergency designation in 2020. That was a 5-year recovery. I told everybody, I'll do it in 4. They said, no way. You guys say it's in 20 years. I did it in 4 years. I did it in 4. A little bit of overachiever. And they said, there's no way. There's just no way. So they kept going over the numbers and going over. And I called our congresswoman at the time. I called our senator and said, they won't let me go because they couldn't believe there was just had to be a mistake. They kept going over the numbers and they kept with the same answer. We had positive fund balance. So finally, they had to let us go. So I'll just read this very quickly to tell you how they basically acknowledge it. They said the notable achievement demonstrates the commendable dedication of the City of Maple Heights to its constituents. Among those of Northeast Ohio who are familiar with your city, your name has become synonymous with opportunity and hope. The City of Maple Heights was faced with tremendous challenge over the course of the past 5 years. However, your community and your leadership did not falter. Instead, you gathered together and made a plan for success. Over the course of 5 years, should be 4, but I'll take it. The City of Maple Heights has increased businesses, job opportunities, and successfully come out of fiscal emergency. From the auditor's office. No way we can do it. You may have to say 5 years. I'll just look at, it should say 5, it should say 4. In addition to that, because of the success, our bond rating went from a B2 to a BA3. Our bond rating went up. We received a senatorial citation from State Senator Kenny Hugo. I'm sorry, that's from Hugo. We didn't have the one from Keith Favor, which pretty much says the same thing. We did it. We did it. Thank you. From our law department and human resources person, Attorney Frank Consolo, what do we do to keep safe? And I'm here to tell you this, not to be, but I had COVID and my husband had COVID. And so many of you, when I walked to the front door, had all kinds of vitamins, you name it. Thank you all so much, Ginger Ale, that wished my husband and my husband, I just saw him was back there, wished us back to health, willed us back to health with your love, your supplies at the door. We were a city that we had so many infections in our fire and police department, and then later we had COVID. So what did we do? We instituted COVID safety protocols. We redesigned mayor's court procedures and remote work to keep everybody safe that was coming to the court. Sometimes that court was pretty packed on the second floor. We worked very close with the finance department to financial plan and use of the CARES Act money. We got money too from the federal government, as well as the ARPA, was American Rescue Plan Acknowledged to prevent mass layoffs from COVID revenue loss. We had to do some layoffs, we had to reduce hours, but we didn't let anyone go. We said, just work with us. We'll bring you back. We're on our way back. Thank God for this ARPA money, the CARES Act money, and our strategy, and just working very closely with our finance director to make sure no one lost their jobs. We act as a lead in the city of Garfield Heights Municipal Court and utilize the new technology for online discovery procedures. Again, minimizing the in-person contact. We're doing a lot of online. Our municipal court is in Garfield. Our mayor's court is in Maple Heights City Hall on the second floor. This is, I'm super proud of. We have 7 collective bargaining units in the city of Maple Heights, 7 unions. The people that worked in Maple Heights, in addition to your street not being fixed and all the other issues you have, hadn't got a raise in 10 years. How many of you would work and don't get a raise in 10 years? Didn't have a raise in 10 years. And I couldn't give them one because I didn't have the money. I came from corporate America. I got a raise every year and a bonus. I couldn't imagine. But the people that were working for me, almost 100 of them hadn't had a raise in 10 years. And I had them working so hard. I promised them, just like I told them we got a fiscal emergency, I get a raise. I'm here to tell you that we were able to, and thank you council, thank you for approving it and sticking with it and us working through that together. They got their first wage increase, 3% last year, 2% in 2022, and 2% in 2023. They got a raise.
7%.
They stuck with me. They didn't quit. They didn't move on. They said, we're in this with you. We'll get through this together, just as Dr. Keenan shared with his staff, without a raise. With air conditioning window units in a really old building, no elevator, no flowers, no Christmas lights, and I can go on and on. Really very little. They stuck with me. And I appreciate all of you. And you believed everything I said. I said, I will get you a raise. I told you, Vince, I would pay you. I told you, like, I would pay you. We did that. We met our debt obligations. And then very happy to share with you that we found out that there is money available from cities that for the opioid legislation. There's like around $800,000 or so. We may get some of our first check by the end of the year. We participated in that. And the chief can tell you a lot of the calls we go on the ambulance are drug overdoses. We want a piece of this. All not on here also was testified in a case against Hulu and Netflix. They're not paying their provider service fees. And so we are going after them for our portion of Netflix provider fees. It's my job to find the revenue. It's my job to balance the budget. And I do it. It's my job to remove the negative information about Maple Heights. Whether it's we're dirty, dark, and dangerous, we're poor, we're not capable, our kids are failing, which is why one of the reasons that Dr. Keenan and I did this together, to get the truth out. You heard about all the programming that we're doing, and we keep saying it, we are. We're winning, 95% graduation rate. One of the top cities, schools districts in the state, and Dr. Keenan and I are on the First Marines Superintendents and Mayors Collaborative. We go to meetings together. We fight together for our children in this city. Community development, as I wrap up here. That is a picture, if you go back, Patrick, line dancing. How many of you came out to music part with me and we were line dancing? I was trying to line dance, because I don't know, but I do my thing. And so Linda DeBoe, Director of Human Services, who sits right here, And Patrick Rowan Myers is Director of Economic Development, Building and Housing. These are the slides that they've done, helped me get done. During COVID-19, we supported several residents. The food pantry stayed open, offering parking lot pickup, safe food distribution. The mobile food pantry saw over a 200% increase in families served since March 2020. 110 individuals registered and transported to COVID-19 vaccination sites. Although I got COVID, I rode the senior van, my husband and I, down to the mass vaccination site. And then 4 days later, I had COVID. I don't understand. The seniors were fine. I was trying to show the seniors. The mayor will go with you, so the seniors are fine. But my husband and I got COVID. But we ran our senior vans down to the mass COVID vaccination site at Wolsey to make sure our people were safe. Over 20,000 home delivered meals and over 6,500 grab-and-go meals. People pulled up the senior center, brown bag, and they were able to continue on. We had community shred days offered in May and October. Our last shred day was this last Saturday at St. Andrews. Thank you, Father. Music in the Park, summer concert series at Stafford Park. We had hubs group. I'm telling you, there's probably over 200 people there. We've never had music in the park concerts so well attended since I've been mayor. I can't speak historically before I was mayor. And the last music in the park concert, I bought ice cream for everyone. We had an ice cream, what was that, truck, a little trolley, and we bought ice cream. Thank you, all of you who came out, danced with us, and just had a good time. It's so popular now. We go around and we try to get Maple Heights, and say, I'm not from Maple Heights. People are following our page. We're finding that half of the people in the park are not from Maple Heights. They go on the website, they see the band, and they come with their chair, and they enjoy music. So thank you for coming out. Housing resource fairs scheduled to offer opportunity to enroll. We want to help our residents as much as we can. The homestead and property tax payment plans, and you'll know why. We'll talk about that in a second. We're finding out that utilities are being cut off. The moratorium is over. We had a lady come, I think, a $3,000 on the water bill. Not much we can do when it gets that bad. We have a HEAP office in the senior center, something I work very closely with Armand Bush to bring to Maple Heights, a HEAP office to help you get on the utility assistance plan. And we want to share some home care resources. You know, Patrick Rogan-Myers is the director of economic development, and he also oversees the building department. And we go out and we cite you for high grass because you guys can call and say, you gotta cite my neighbor, the grass is high, or there's trash in the backyard, or the roof is falling, or the gutters are falling. We go out and cite. But I feel, what's the other side of that? I'm citing someone who can't afford to get it fixed. So we can cite, but how do I help them fix it? Because they're gonna end up in my mayor's court. And then it just compounds the issues, right? We have over 20% poverty rate. A leader has to figure that out. Cite, but how do we help them? And so we're going to pursue that, and we're going to bring you some of those programs. We've been working very closely. Patrick, thank you for all the work you've been doing. Linda, thank you for all the work you're doing to find out who can help us. We had an amazing year. We have a couple revenue centers. They laugh at me when I say that. I come from an accounting tax background. I call them revenue centers. Mayor's Court and the building department. Those are two centers that generate a revenue. And so in 2020, we issued over 1,400 building permits. Almost 1,200 permits were issued in September. The residential permits issued between, this is for getting a permit to put a driveway in, put a fence, build a deck. From 2018 to 2020 was a 19% growth. We cited over 1,300 property maintenance complaints. So for those who said, we don't do anything, 1,300. We're going out. That's not to mention probably how many high grass lots? How many?
Probably 900 plus.
Almost 1,000, just people not cutting the grass. We finally hired a new code enforcement officer. What does this look like in revenue though? $7,500,000 in commercial investment. Did I get this right, Patrick? This is your slide. Am I reading it right?
Yes.
And residential investment. That's how much money these permits bring, because it turns into, I know you don't like it, chicken strips. People build KFCs. They build dollar stores. They do. There's chicken here, a lot of chicken here. But it results in this kind of commercial activity. And then when I say the source of income, then they pay income taxes. This vacant parcel then becomes a property tax bill. That's why this is important, whether it's chicken, nylons, nail glue, or a lot of long hair. It's economic development. The next one? Oh, you did. How many of people know where President's Row is? Anybody know where President's Row is in Maple Heights? It is on the other side of Broadway, and is the only place that Blacks could live in Maple Heights. It's the most red line part of the city. So in our negotiations with the land bank and building 2 new homes, and these are modular homes, these homes are kind of pre-made and they just have to put them in a base. They said, what do you want? I said, I want justice in a place, and they call it President's Row because they're named after Presidents Jefferson, Adams, I forget all the streets, Jefferson, you get it. I said, you're gonna put them in President's Row. We're gonna make something that was done very wrong right. Those homes sold for how much, Patrick? It's like 4%. Oh, he's got it right there. You put it for me. 189 and 217,000. I can never remember. And they sold within a week. In President's Row, the undesirable part of the city, the part that only Blacks could live. Is that amazing? Is that justice? That's an easy thing. Then, but it doesn't stop there. We got 5 new homes planned for construction in fall 2021 and spring 2020. Over near the elementary campus. Anybody see the new home going up? Brand new home going up, built from the ground, selling for $200,000. Frank Amato, who is a very renowned builder in this area, building some in Euclid and Cleveland Heights, brought 4 lots and building 4 new homes, starting at $200,000. Another development's going to break ground on Greendale and District 2, another home starting at $200,000. This just started something. When I became mayor in 2016, the median sale price in my place was $37,100. I look at all real estate data. Every house that goes on sale, I have the realtor send me a link. 37.1. The home value price now is $80,000. You can't buy a house unless it's a completely demolished for $80 bucks and $80,000. So it doesn't matter where you're buying it. $80,000. It gets even better. In the state of Ohio, there's something called a reappraisal cycle. That's what I did before I became mayor. I was a property tax consultant, so I know this. And so I was trending and watching these values. So every 6 years, and so 2012, what was it, 2008 is when everybody got the shocker where values had dropped by 30%. Remember that? In 2018, they went up a little bit. And then they have something called the triennial, which is the mid-year review between the full year sexennial. Maple Heights, when I went down to the county, where is it? I can't see it. Right in front of me. Oh, here it is. 29%. 29% value increase. We had the highest in the county. The only thing that missed out was Lakewood. Lakewood was 27%. But Maple Heights, how many of you saw this? Anybody saw this prior to tonight? Did you see this? It was in the Plain Dealer. It was in Cranes. Because nobody could believe how in the world, they said, there's just no way. Well, it's numbers, it's data. We had the highest. If we went from $37,001, $80,000, one could easily see how we had the highest value increase. How many of you got your value notices in the mail? Increase for the first time in a long time, right? That's what's happening in Maple Heights. Great news for the schools. We brought back the city's paint program. Remember, we go out on site. And so my building department says, it's painting. And the person says, I just don't have the money. It's chipping. So we had some money from the Slavic Village program, which I won't get into tonight. That's a program that we have just for the sake of time. And we were able to put that money with the approval of council into a fund. And we were able to do grants for people that being able to demonstrate a need. And we gave grants for paint. We did a partnership with Maple Heights Hardware. And so we're helping people paint their homes. We hope to bring more of those programs. I know about the trees. I know about the sidewalks. Let me build a budget let me find the money and we will try to bring those programs to help homeowners and property owners as well. City Land Bank, we have side yards. How many of you remember the great demolition in Maple Heights? You have 2 houses of a vacant lot, 2 houses, they were just tearing down the really, really raggedy stuff, the bad stuff, right? And we have these holes in streets, vacant lots. And so we created, along with the land bank, the side yard program. You could buy a side yard, it was $100. $100, you could expand your lot. Now, I know some of the lot sizes and depth and front, the front and depth. East side, the last 45 by 120, west side, you see 65 by 140. Many people are buying these lots. They spent this time home during COVID. They're seeing their values go up. They're seeing the changes in Maple Heights, and they want to stay in place and they want to do it in Maple Heights. So 18 families are in the process of purchasing these lots. This is estimated to increase the equity in their home by $7,000 by expanding their lot size and putting fences around. We sold 5 parcels to the developer that's building the single family home construction you see on Dunham Road, and you'll see all through the city. This is my baby. As we were riding around, my husband actually one Sunday, and I saw this yard. It was just amazing. It was perfect. The grass was perfect. There was these beautiful flowers, with these beautiful little red trees, with hanging baskets. It was light. It was just beautiful. And I said, oh, we go around and we cite people for trash, gutters hanging, awnings. What about giving the people acknowledgement for having a beautiful yard? So I went home and I sketched it, and I brought it to Patrick. He said, it's gonna be a little work, because I'm not the best artist. It's gonna be a little work, I'll help you. We put some grass in there, and we launched the beautiful yard program. And I've seen your garden club in Bedford do that, their coaching. We recognize the hard work, time, and money spent on investing in flowers, yard ornaments, lighting, and other unique features. Patrick went with me. Not only the front yard's amazing, we went to some backyards, arbors, ponds, peach trees, a movie projector. There are some beautiful, beautiful yards. We only bought 100 signs, but we kept finding more amazing yards. People called us, people sent us pictures. We expected 250 yards. Got this sign. Anybody here got this sign in their yard? Got some beautiful yards. We've got more to do next year because this program, people are saying, I want a sign next year. I want to thank Gail's Garden, who worked with us, and for the first 100 yards, because we thought it was only be 100. If you took the letter to Gail's Garden, they give you 10% off. We're going to expand the program next year, but you can still see some of these yards, these signs in yards. People are probably displaying them. This is one of the homes. This backyard, and it's on Mountville. I think it's Mountville. This backyard will belong. It should be in a landscape magazine. This was my baby. I personally stuck 250 signs in your yard. It was me. He was like, is that you, Mayor? I'm like, that's me. I'm sticking a sign in your yard. Very proud of this program. Very proud of the homeowners that put so much into their homes. We welcomed 10 new businesses to the city in 2021. Gojo, the makers of Pharrell, opened its door in early 2021. They made a $25 million investment in a building that had been dark for over a decade. It is beautiful. It's first class. It's at 5700 South Lee Road. We've got some new commercial construction that topped almost $7 million in 2021. It's 3 million more than in 2020. We've got the Dollar General. We've got the car wash. Let me tell you about this very quickly. It was Yellow Valleys. It was one big parcel. It was Old Valleys that became FX Fitness Center. I don't know what it ended up becoming, and a parking lot right next to the fire station. That one parcel became 3 parcels. The Curry family that owns that development, that owns that parcel, did 3 parcels. They split it. One parcel became KFC, chicken, I know. Second parcel became a brand new Dollar General. Third parcel, which may own by the years, a new Clean Express car wash. That one parcel that generated no income is now 3 parcels with 3 brand new buildings, 3 opportunities for jobs, tax revenue, income tax, and local property tax. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I'm going to end with planning for the future. So what's the future? We've done all of these things that we couldn't do, and we overcame, and we got it done. Myself, city council, these administrators, we really put our minds around, very similar to what Dr. Keenan and his staff did. We have to strategize. We have to believe what seems to be impossible. We have to shut out all the noise and negativity because we know the truth and we know how it really, really works. We're the inside looking out. We're going to focus on delivering excellent services to residents efficiently. We're going to answer your calls. We're going to answer your emails. You can walk to City Hall, somebody will be there to address your inquiry. How many people send me messages? I send you an answer the same day. If I send me an email, got an answer the same day? Because that's how I respond. Sometimes at 12 o'clock at night, but you get the answer. We're going to ensure the city government is proactive and responsive. We continue to think of what is wrong and address it before it becomes a quality of life issue for you. Where it may deter investment here and they may go to Stan City instead of Maple Heights, although we share very well. We compete, but we compete fairly. Some things are better suited for Bedford, and some things are better suited for Maple Heights. We work collaborating on that. We're going to maintain a financially stable government. We're not going back. I'm not going to give you something I can't pay for. You can be mad at me. I'm not going to give you something I can't go, and she's not going to let me. We're going to focus, we're going to restructure departments to recruit and retain top talent. We're doing amazing work. This is a huge business. We need the right people, the right skill set, the right commitment, the right patience, the commitment to customer service to respond proactively, responsively, politely, and give you the right answer and deliver every single time. We expand the responsive departments of human services. That's Linda Bowman's department. She's going to say, what does that mean? Don't call me later, I'll tell you tomorrow. Economic development, that's Patrick's area, and building and housing, bringing programs to help you maintain your property. We're going to establish a division of youth service. Now, we're doing a lot with you, and you've had, thank you, Superintendent tell you all the things we're doing with MyCom, and now we're doing the Saving Our Daughters, Saving Our Cinderellas with the CAVS, NBA project. We've got Students of Promise. There's so much we're doing. We're going to continue to expand to that with grants and resources and collaboration. Dr. King, I've done so well, just really getting a great deal of enjoyment out of that, seeing our children really participate in those programs. We're going to establish a serious maintenance grant program, the paint program. Again, we're looking to do something with trees and sidewalks, roofs, driveways, windows. We want to improve community health. We found through COVID, we also are in touch with the Board of Health. Linda sees it, of course, as Human Service Director, high cases of diabetes. I have been working since I became mayor. Black infant mortality. I found out my first year in office, we have the highest number of Black infant deaths among the entering suburbs. That's not okay. And for the last 2 years, I get my numbers where babies are still dying, the numbers are not going down. All of this money is being from this program, but babies, Black babies are still dying before their first birthday. I can't have that. I can't have that. I can achieve all the financial success and home values, but if my babies are dying, I am not succeeding in the way that I need to succeed. So we had a drive-through baby shower at Stafford Park, huge success. We're working with Case Western Reserve, we're working with Neighborhood Leadership Institute. We're doing a lot around improving our community health. We got our flu shots in senior centers. As you saw, we took our seniors down on the van to the mass vaccination sites. We're doing things with diabetes. Our insurance companies doing stuff with high cholesterol. We've got hearing tests that we have at the senior center. We get shingle shots. We're doing everything that we can. I'm working with university hospitals and bringing more internal medicine programs because our ambulance is for emergencies. It's not for primary care. We can't sustain that kind of wear and tear and that kind of expense to the city, taking people for a headache or I twisted my ankle. And that's what happens. It ends up being significant ambulance runs. So I'm working very closely with university hospitals specifically to bring internal medicine and doing some work with Cleveland Clinic and Marymount as they continue to expand the services there. You heard Dr. Keenan talk, and we're doing that with environmental health parks. I mean, it's going out, riding a bike, fresh air. That's why we're doing these projects. Tree canopy, we're planting like 80 trees on Dunham Road, we found out through a tree canopy meeting, that we didn't have enough trees. This is Maple Heights. How do we not have enough trees? We're like, we're like, we don't have enough trees, or Maple Heights said, you don't have enough trees. So to Grand Valley, help us get a grant. We're getting more trees. It helps with your respiratory and cleaner air and those things that just should naturally happen with the ecosystem. You heard from our superintendent, broadband is super important for our children and lifelong learning for our seniors. We lost over 12 seniors. We lost 25 seniors during COVID. They died. Some from COVID isolation, poor nutrition, because we feed them and there's interaction. 25, this woman's heart's been broken over and over again. We miss them. We're their lifeline. They need to have access to loved ones. So there's a lot of money out. There's a grant from the county, many grants to increase broadband connection here in the city. We're going to pursue all those dollars and bring broadband to almost every home in Maple Heights. That's our goal. That's our goal. I'm super excited to tell you that in addition to bringing wellness and environmental justice, thank you again, Sugar Valley, at Stafford Park, we're going to be building a new fitness trail. It's gonna be, I'm sure it's on time, I'm almost done. There's a new fitness trail. So like you go to the park and you can stop at a station, you can do push-ups and planks. The park, the area behind the parking, between the green grass, between the park, the fence and housing, gonna be this fitness trail. We're gonna start installing that in about a month. So we'll have fitness trail stuff. We're gonna make it a full service park, not just youth engagement, but citizen engagement. Everybody needs to be served. And one of the things I found about Black infant mortality is some of the babies suffer because of domestic violence or mom. It's not just sleeping, depression, in vitro trauma. So we want to bring as much as we can to address outdoor activities, fresh air, walking, exercise. Super excited to bring it all through a grant from Grand Valley. Our grant geniuses over there. We're doing several water line replacement, street repair on these streets. The sewer repairs in northeast and southwest section of the city. Please reach out to your council person, see if you're on that list, your street's on that list. And then I want to make sure that we continue to seek grants and outside funding to support city projects, so that strains not on the general fund. One of the issues I looked at when I got here, I studied it too. There was not my finance director. I went through 3 before I got her. But as I was studying, how did we get to this place? Everything was coming out of the general fund. There's special revenue funds. No one was really looking at where money was going. We want to relieve all of the requisitions and funding out of that general fund. That's our main fund. And where we can use other people's money, as she says, that's a good thing. That means more money in our account. So we're going to continue to seek those projects, working with Grand Valley, the county, and some of our other partners. We need to reduce this delinquent project tax down by at least 5%. That resource where we're going to have the county here to get you on a payment plan. If you're delinquent, if one of your residents is delinquent, we need those dollars. We want just at least 5% to bring a little bit more money in. We're going to continue to commit to strategic financial planning for our continued success. The success starts with strategic finance planning, top talent, a vision for the future, collaboration with your schools, a great body of elected officials, city council persons, a great staff of committed, talented, courageous, selfless administration. So we're going to measure our success. I'm big on utilization and measuring our success. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to see it. Are we achieving what we set out to do? We come to work and we work a lot of hours. Many of us have been working all day. And there's meetings, there's council meetings, there's committee. Sometimes we're working 12 hours a day. We work all day and we come to the various meetings in the evenings. We're going to create a community scorecard that's going to be found on our website starting in January 2022. You'll see our goals and objectives, if you saw, and I'm being redundant as our secretary says, with updates on steps we've taken to execute what those goals are. You'll measure our success. You'll hold us accountable. We have several ways you look and see. So when people say, I don't know what's going on in Maple Heights. I have people say, I've never met you. Well, I've been in office 6 years. I don't know how many funerals I've been to, how many birthdays I've been to, how many graduations I've been to, how many meetings I've done. If you want to see me, you can see me. You want to know what's going on, you can go to Twitter. You can go to the website, you can go to Instagram, you can go to LinkedIn, you can go to Facebook. Each council person puts out a newsletter. They have district meetings. The information's there. You just have to look or click or flip or show up. Partner with us in the success. We're not the city that we were 10 years ago. We're a city that was written off. They said we were the next something else, and that's not fair to that city. It's not fair to Maple Heights. But what is fair is that every day we commit to doing the very best we can with the almost 25,000 people in this city. Thank you. God bless. Take questions. You say why? Because there are opportunities to ask questions. The school board has a meeting on Mondays at 5:30. What is it, the first and third? I mean, but when are they? They're there. No, I mean, are they first and second Mondays? It's not set like that. So you have to go to the website and look and see when their meetings are. They're Mondays at 5:30 at the Board of Education at 547 Lawn Avenue, I believe. The City Council has a meeting the first and third Wednesday. Right now, it's a senior center. 6:30 is caucus, 7 o'clock is the meeting. We only have one meeting during summer recess. That's June, July, and August. Those are all posted on any of these sites. Also check with your council person. So those are places to answer your questions. Tonight, we wanted to give you a city address. Both myself and Dr. Kinney will be around after this presentation to answer some questions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, along with Dr. Kinney, being here.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.